My name is Jessie Ace. I'm part of a group of ENabled Warriors that you've probably never heard of. We're fighting back against our invisible illness and taking the dis out of disability. We don't give sympathy to our symptoms. They enable us to be the warrior that we are. If you ask doctors and nurses, they'd say what we're doing is impossible. But pushing the limits of our conditions is something that we have to break through every single day. So we push the limits. We are mentally strong, and we can do anything. The question is, how far can we push those limits? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Jessie Ace, and this is the Disabled to Enabled podcast. Enabled Warriors, there is a slight disclaimer to this episode. We talk about self-harm, addiction, and suicide in this episode. So we've added some links to the show notes. So please take a look if you need some help or if you've been affected by anything that we've spoken about today. Let's get into our episode. Hey Enabled Warriors, we are back with Amanda Webster. We are chatting in this section what the amazing things that she has done since all the struggles that went on in her life. It's just wow, it's incredible. So Amanda, hey, thank you for joining us again.
Hello again.
Hey, so you are now 2 years drug and self-harm free. Congratulations on that. That's amazing because that is hard and it sounds like you had such a hard journey to go through. So you have done incredible things since those dark times. How on earth did you turn that around?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just celebrated 2 years this month actually. And it was crazy because in the beginning, I didn't know what I was going to do. When I came down from that ledge, when I had that breakdown, I knew that I had to make some drastic changes or I was going to end up on that ledge again. It would probably be a different ledge, but I was going to end up on that ledge again. I was going to end up relapsing into something, be it self-harm or smoking or whatever the case was. I was going to have to find another coping mechanism if I didn't create a stable lifestyle for myself, if I didn't find, if I didn't teach myself, so to say, if I didn't teach myself how to cope with stress, how to cope with trauma, how to cope with intense situations, I knew that I was going to find myself right back there. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Legally Blonde, but this was my moment when I came back after I went to my mental health professional where Warner told Elle she wasn't smart enough for the internship that they were going for the law internship that they were going for.
Yeah.
I had a mental health professional tell me straight out that I could not be happy. Let that sink in for a second. The person I trusted for my mental health, for my well-being, flat out told me that I would never be happy because I had this diagnosis, I had this mental illness that would at best keep me safe. I could live a functional life where, as the French would say, mettre boulot dodo, I get up, I go to work, I go to and from, I sleep, that's my life. Mm-hmm. So they told me that I could have a functional life, that I could, survive, but she said, well, you're never really going to be happy. That was my moment. That was the flame under me where if nothing else, I'd already had that moment in the hotel room where I was like, I want to be happy. I want to get better. But that was the flame under me where I was like, now I have the motivation to prove you wrong because you have no effing right to tell me, try to keep it censored and clean here. You have nothing right to tell me that I have this limit. We always tell people growing up, reach for the stars, reach for the sky. There's no limit. You can be whatever you want to be. Mm-hmm. But then I have the person that I'm trusting for my mental well-being tell me, well, it's not blowing me in that direction. That's not really possible for you. Setting limitations on my own mental well-being. Yeah. That's insane. So I really had to sit down and say, okay, what changes can I make in my life that are really going to have the most impact, that are really going to move me higher on what I ended up dubbing the happiness spectrum. So I feel like she's right to a degree. The mental health professional is right in one sense, that everybody is going to experience happiness and emotions differently. Not everybody is going to be over the top, over the moon happy. Maybe that's what she meant. Maybe she just meant that I'd never be giddy happy, which even that's BS. And I totally feel that on a daily basis now. But I get that everybody feels happiness differently. And I get that not everybody is going to be way up here as their base emotion. I tend to now be way up here. I know but everybody can't see me, but I tend to be pretty high as my base emotion now. So when I'm walking the dog, when I'm doing dishes, I'm happy. I'm content. I'm fulfilled. Like I can sit there and smile just getting up in the morning. 2 years ago, I would have never even thought that was a possibility. 2 years ago, I woke up and went, oh God, not this again. Like it was just another day, another nightmare, another hell loop. It felt, I remember watching the show Lucifer, and it was talking about how they would get stuck in a hell loop. Like hell was having to relive this experience, like their regret over and over and over. And the interesting thing about it is the door in their personal hell room was always open. They could leave anytime they wanted. They could break that hell loop anytime they wanted. I was living that hell loop over and over and over. I was reliving the trauma and the grief and the pain every single day. Every day I was getting up and just reliving losing my mom, reliving that sexual assault, reliving all of this trauma, all of the bullying every day. That's what flooded my mind. That's what was there. And yeah, it just really, there came a point where I had to say, either I'm going to change or I'm going to end up back on the ledge. What can I do to change? What can I do to move myself higher on the happiness spectrum?
Yeah.
That's the question I ended up having to ask myself. And when I did come down, I told myself, I'm going to give it my all for 1 year. 1 year of making changes, of giving it everything I have, of really trying, of utilizing any positive, healthy method anyone throws at me. I will try everything I can. And if 1 year I don't feel better, if 1 year I still feel this desolate and this dark and this hopeless, I'm going to jump, because I can't deal with this forever. But I gave myself that time period. I said 1 year. 1 year, I'm going to give it my all. And I am so happy I gave myself that year, because now I'm happier than I ever thought possible in my life. I'm the happiest now than I've ever been. And I didn't even think it was possible to be here, to be at this point. But it was really a matter of change. It was a matter of taking my power back from that boy who sexually assaulted me, taking my power back from the grief, taking my power back from the drugs. I had to take my power back.
And you did, and it was amazing. And you turned to nutrition and fitness as well. That was kind of a key thing for you, and you became a fitness model, and like you've done so much amazing stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of the core of my healing, was you have to give your body a fighting chance, and your mind is part of your body. And I realized that I wasn't. I was lying to myself. I told myself that I was, but I wasn't. And when I was really honest, when I took the time to sit down with myself and I was honest about that, I knew that I wasn't doing the best I could. I knew that I was kind of almost half-assing it, like, okay, well, I'm going to take some yoga classes. Well, that didn't fix it. Okay, well, I'm going to eat healthier. Well, that didn't fix it. And let me be clear that eating healthier to me meant making sure that my cupcake was gluten-free, vegan, organic, whatever. There wasn't really any structure. Even though I'd gone to school for holistic nutrition, I lied to myself. I lied to myself day in and day out, saying, oh, this gluten-free macaroni is healthy. It's not. I lied to myself and said, well, you're doing better now. Well, was I doing better eating the gluten-free macaroni than eating McDonald's like I did growing up? I guess that's kind of up for debate. But at the end of the day, I wasn't giving my body what it needed, physically or mentally. I wasn't doing what was right, what would really give me the best fighting chance, what would move me higher on that happiness spectrum. I wasn't doing that. I told myself I was, but I wasn't. And yeah, that was really the core. That was the foundation of moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounded like you kind of took more of an interest in psychology and figuring out why you were feeling that way as well, and trying to kind of unlock those things in your mind, if you like, to kind of become a more positive, happier person.
Yeah, because even with anxiety and depression, I know that there really are mental illnesses. I know that there are almost demons. I call mine my shadow. I have a shadow in my mind, and sometimes it tries to fight me, and it will try and tell me that I'm worthless, or that I'm ugly, or that I'm XYZ. She has no shortage of words. She has no shortage of insults. I feel like most people have that. People with anxiety and depression tend to experience it more. I definitely still to this day have it. I've just learned to have a healthy relationship with it.
Yeah.
So we try to repress the parts of ourselves that aren't quote unquote pretty. And having been a model since I was 16, I really can relate to that. You don't want to show the parts of yourself that aren't pretty. You're supposed to put on this face. Everybody's supposed to see the certain version of you, the certain facade, the certain personality. So you put on this face, you put on this mask, so people don't see that part of you. And then you start denying it in yourself. You start denying that you have anger. You start denying that you have sadness. And that's where the problems come from. I mean, that's basic psychology. The more you repress your feelings and emotions, the more they're going to fester and the more intense they're going to become under the surface. When I have now learned, people think that because I say I'm happy or I'm healed or that I don't experience symptoms of depression anymore, that means that I am 100% all the time smiling, giddy, perfect. Like I have this perfect existence. That's not true. I do still cry. I do still have anxiety sometimes, but I've learned to manage it. It's less frequent. It's less intense. And when it does come, I let it come. I say, okay, I guess right now I need to cry. Right now I'm feeling anxious. What can I do about that? Do I just need to write it out? Is there something that can kind of help it? Is there something that can help me through this feeling? Or is there something I need to change to minimize this feeling? So yeah, delving into psychology and what I could do to improve my state of mind. So I kind of had the structure down. I had the foundation down for the physical aspect, really diving into the mental aspect and saying, okay, what do I need to eliminate from my life? What habits can I add to my life? How should I be talking to myself? What can I change? What can I do to restructure that shadow, to work with that shadow? Because for so long, I just tried to shove her aside and she got angrier. She got more and more aggressive the more I tried to pretend she didn't exist. Yeah. And what I finally realized in the end was she wasn't there to try to hurt me. She wasn't there to be malicious. She'd tell me, well, you're fat or you're stupid or you're XYZ, because she was trying to motivate me to do better. And everybody knows that one person in their life that's going to be like that. Let's be real. Everybody knows that one person in their life that shows quote unquote tough love that's going to say, well, maybe you should lose 15 pounds. It's kind of the same concept. Those people are well-meaning. They're looking and saying, wow, maybe, you're gaining weight and I'm worried about you. But instead of saying, hey, I'm kind of concerned about, the changes that have been happening. Do you need my support? Is there something we can do? They're going to say, well, you got fat. And what's the person going to do? They're immediately going to shut off. They're going to shut that person out. And I felt like I was doing that to this part of myself. I was trying to shut it out because it was being aggressive instead of having a conversation with it and saying, this is how I want to be talked to. This is how I'm going to talk to you from here on out. And this is how I want you to talk to me. So how can we have a mutual interaction here? And I gave her the name the shadow because I realized that when you talk to your brain, when you talk to your mind, when you talk to this dark side of yourself, if you've ever seen Dexter refers to it as his dark passenger. That's like his dark thoughts and stuff. When you give it a name, that makes it separate from you. Yes. That makes you realize that it's separate from you, and thus you can interact with it accordingly. Because when you're accepting this, what happens is we start accepting all of this absolute truth because it's coming from a place inside of us, the one place we should trust. So we start accepting all of that as absolute truth. And once we can kind of separate that and say, this is just a thought. That's all it is. It's just a thought. It doesn't have to have truth to it. It probably doesn't have truth to it. Let's examine it. Let's challenge it. That's where I really started to move forward on a more mental level. I mean, I'd already made a lot of progress, even mentally, because we ignore that connection. Even though our brain's part of us, we ignore that connection. I'd already made a great deal of progress with the mental aspect just because of changing the physical aspect. But that was kind of the next step, was getting into that psychology, getting into the what can I do there to move forward.
That's so true. That's brilliant. Can you tell us a little bit about the happiness boost that you created?
Yes. So I got asked so often, what did you do? What steps did you take? How did you heal? How did you do this? It was just a question I got asked so often by clients that were coming to me with symptoms of anxiety or depression, that finally I I was repeating so much. I was repeating the story so much, and I was taking people through the same steps, the same process, and I was seeing them progress, and I was seeing them, have so much progress with this, so much from this. I was like, you know what? More people could benefit if I just turn this into a course. So Happiness Boost is really kind of my journey from being at that rock bottom place to finding genuine happiness. But the interesting thing about it is you don't have to hit rock bottom to realize that you might be complacent. You might not be living your fullest happiness potential. Most people do not live their full happiness potential. So this is saying, where are you now? The Happiness Boost program meets every person where they are, says what's going right for you, where can we improve, let's create a solid foundation, and then move from there. So it takes everyone on the journey that I went through from being at rock bottom to being happier, but it takes, importantly, everyone on that journey to move higher on their happiness spectrum.
That's amazing. I love that. That's so good. And that from you, especially going through what you've been through, is just the most incredible thing I think that you could have done. I really do. And I love the way that you're giving back to people and helping them.
Yeah, because I know what it's like to be at that rock bottom place. Like, I know what it's like to be in that darkness. And truthfully, I guess I kind of made it my mission in life. I knew what it was like to feel invisible from a young age when I was not accepted. I wasn't, I didn't have friends. I knew what it was like to feel invisible. And I made it my mission in life to see those people that felt invisible and make them feel seen and make them feel hope. That's what I want, is to make those people feel hope and show people, whether they're at rock bottom or they're just complacent or they just could use a boost, that happiness isn't elusive. I used to think that happiness was something that definitely was not for people like me, quote unquote, but it's not elusive at all. It's something that everybody can attain. It just might look different for each person.
Yeah, definitely. That's incredible. Where can people listening go to find that?
Yes, AmandaWebsterHealth.com. If you just click on the programs, you can check out more about Happiness Boost. You can learn the 3 most damaging factors to your own personal happiness and learn 5 things that you can do right now to be happier. And I'd also like to offer a special gift for your listeners specifically. If you want to get 20% off the Happiness Boost program, you can enter Jessie, Jessie 20 at checkout, and I will make sure to give all of your listeners that extra 20% off.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. That's incredible. So ENabled Warriors, please go and check that out. And let's head into part 3, where we're going to discuss Amanda's not so super quick secrets.
Oh, goodness.
Here we go. Thanks. Bye. ENabled Warriors, do you want to win a copy of the ENabled Warrior Symptom Tracker book for free? The Symptom Tracker book will allow you to track your symptoms, instantly spot triggers, and get the best care possible from your doctors. Dr. Gretchen Hawley from the MS Link said it was brilliant for those with chronic illnesses to give their doctors more accurate information. Recalling these nuggets of information can be a game changer in receiving the best care for you and your symptoms. Inside the book, you'll find everything that you need to live your best life with chronic illness. Have you ever sat in an appointment and couldn't recall when your symptoms started, how long they lasted, the date of your first relapse, how long you've been on medication? Oh, me too. It's so annoying. That's why I made these pages in the book to help with this. Do you want to find out what foods are triggering your symptoms? Great, that's in the book too. Do you wish that you could wake up feeling positive and energetic every single day? The daily sheets in this book will help you do just that. Enter the giveaway by going to www.mybookgiveaway.com and enter your details through the message on Facebook Messenger that will pop up. If you are impatient and you want one now, then go get your ENabled Warrior Tracker book from www.enabledwarriors.org/book. Both of the links are in the show notes, so go and click them there. And get in control of your chronic illness today and start living the life you deserve. Stay ENabled Warriors. Warriors listening, if you've enjoyed this episode and you want to win $100, leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell us what you liked best. We'll choose one review at random each month to win $100, and after you've left your review, remember, go and click that subscribe button. Are you ready to fight back against your chronic illness and go from being disabled to enabled? Do you want to be an enabled warrior, someone who's brave, strong, and confident, and someone who's ready to find a way to achieve awesome things despite a diagnosis? This is your invitation. Check out DISabledtoENabled.com for articles and reviews to find out how you can become enabled too. Subscribe to the podcast to always be in the know. If you think this podcast is better than sleeping in on a Sunday, tickle that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening. And make sure to share this episode with someone who needs some inspiration. Want to ask your questions to future guests? Make sure to join our Enabled Warriors tribe on Facebook and look out for our question posts. Before we go, check out DISabledtoENabled on Instagram for posts that tell it like it is. And remember, warriors, stay enabled.